What's up guys, and welcome to Void of Just Gaming, your channel for fresh Arena of Valor content. Since the latest patch has been released and we have not talked about that on this channel, I want to take the time to have one of the last videos in 2021 and go with you through every single detail of that patch. So we're going to focus on what have they done mechanical wise in the game when you want to target things. We're going to talk about adjustments that they have done in the monster department, as well as talents, enchantments, and items. And then we are going to take, of course, the most important look, and I think that is what everyone is really interested in. What have they done to specific heroes? If you are following Arena of Valor on the social media channels, you will have seen in the developers notes that they advised, or they kind of like highlighted, that Xeniel has received a buff. And that has been reworked, and that there have been some adjustments. For example, we are talking about Zill, we are talking about Arya, we are talking about AoV, and we're talking about Volkath. But on this little display, on this little image, only 8 heroes have been shown. But to be honest with you, I think most of the heroes have received something, not most of that. Of course, we've got 100 heroes in the game, but at least 20 to 30 heroes have been touched by this patch, so we're going to take that into account when we're talking about that. So the video is going to be a little bit longer. To make the whole thing and the orientation a little bit easier for you, first things first, there will be the update in the video description below, so you can just click on that. You can use the search function in your browser to look for the very specific hero that you want to know what they have done to him or her in detail. That's the one thing. And I'm going to put segments or chapters into this video. So we're gonna have like general stuff, we're going to have mechanic stuff, and then we're going to talk about hero buffs, hero nerfs, heroes adjustments, and hero reworks. So you can just jump to the very specific section of this video where you want to know about. If someone might even do timestamps for the certain, well, for the individual heroes, but I'm not going to do that because I ain't got time. Nobody ain't got time for that, so we're not going to talk about that. You need to look that up in if you want to. So guys, first things first, let's talk about what they've done. And they talk about that in the battlefield. I don't really think that this is kind of like the right description, because they're talking about battlefield adjustments in terms of mechanics with the pointings and the movement and stuff like that later. What they want to highlight in this brief part of the video is that the Spirit Sentinel mechanics have been reworked, so instead of getting a little buff that was applying regeneration stuff over time, you will now have certain items that fall on the ground. It looked like green droplets. You can hover over them, and if you collect one of these items, as you can see, you are going to get 60 health points and receive 10 gold. So that's 60 gold. 50 gold in total and 300 health points that you will restore when you have killed the Spirit Sentinel. As Timmy was thinking that the Slayer was a little bit too strong, and I share that opinion. Basically, Infinite Slayer was a game changer when you are going to deploy it. It's going to have an impact at least on 1 or 2 towers, which can win you in game quite easily. So what they have done, they have reduced the overall damage receiving capabilities with the Dark Lord Slayer, so base armor and magic defense have been decreased, and the Infinite Slayer now deals a little bit more damage, but on the other hand is not able to receive as much damage as his base health has been decreased, and he's losing more health from attacking towers, and that was doubled. I don't know if anyone knows about the modest mechanic, so if you has the like really less gold, you will receive a update, or you will get an upgrade, so you will receive passive gold over the time, and the jungler as well as the support are sharing that. It's a little bit complicated. There's a lot of things that you can apply depending on the role, takes effect and stuff like that, and I think it's way too complicated, as this effect is going to apply in the game when you're playing it anyways. So what I don't really get is why they make it so complicated, as you guys are going to use it anyways in the game. So this is going to apply, rather if you believe in it or not. It's a little bit like COVID, it's just going to happen, and the main source, what you should do is farm. Just continue farming, continue to get kills and assists, and everything will be alright. I wouldn't focus on that too much, but if you want to read through the rules, take that link in the video description below and just see for yourself what is going on with the modest rules. In terms of enchantments, talents, and item builds, they have mixed it a little bit. So Disrupt is definitely a talent. Nature's Rage is definitely some sort of enchantment. Then we've got the enchantments with the Sacred Protection and Alchemy as well. So we're going to talk about the enchantments first. First enchantments that they have been changing with Nature's Rage, Sacred Protection, and Alchemy. There is one buff and two nerfs in this. Nature's Rage has been buffed by a slight portion, so damage time to take effect is decreasing, so that's going to be a little bit better. Therefore, you're doing a little bit more damage, and the cooldown has received a massive improvement, coming from 25 seconds to 20. So I think that's actually quite cool. I love Nature's Rage to play on Arduin, and I guess we're going to take Arduin or Arthur or someone like that. It's like a really tanky type of hero nature, and check out what this has done to that specific champion and find out if it's really an improvement or if you don't feel anything about that at all. Next enchantment that we need to talk about is Sacred Protection. They nerfed it down a little bit, so the shield stat has decreased, as you can see, from 550 to 400, and the level scaling is a lot worse, it's halved, and Alchemy has been a little bit tweaked down as well, so your single instant gold gain is decreasing by 4 numbers, and the total gold that you can gain is decreasing by 100 as well. So this is basically what we need to know about the enchantments. Talent wise, there has just been one thing, and it is a nerf of the Disrupt talent. So Disrupt is going to be a lot worse. Skill cooldown has received a massive increase, coming from 60 seconds to 90 seconds, so that's a nerf of 50%, and the attacker's Disrupt time has been also touched, and from 4 to 6 seconds to 2 to 6 seconds. So that's a lot worse, but I don't really see this talent too much in the game, so I don't really know what this is all about. If it's going to apply to you or not, I don't know. You just have to see for yourself. If you are a Disrupt lover, this is going to change something. If you haven't ever Disrupt ever, this is just some information that's nice to know, but you're not really caring about that. Then defense equipment has been turned around a little bit, so you get a little bit more range on the Aegis, you get a little bit less shielding on the Lost Armor. The time to take effect from the Mark of the Frost has been increased by a huge number. So I think this is going to be crazy. 180 seconds to 300. That's going to be a huge impact. So I see that this is going to be quite impactful. But the ladder is just minor changes. I mean, yes, 5% here, 5% there. But this is not going to be crazy. They have been doing a lot about the support related items, so the sub item has been changed quite a lot. So all these things here have been changed. Health from each stack has been decreased, bonus from all stacks has been increasing, fire support is a little bit worse. It's a little bit better. Fire is a little bit better. Ability power is a little bit worse. So they have been taking all this, like the basic passive changes for the support items, and then they have nerfed down Eradicate. At least that's what they tell us, because it's super big threat. I don't really see people using Eradicate at all, but basically maybe that's just me. Cleansing has been touched. So that's another 50% increase cooldown from 60 to 90 seconds, and that's basically about it. So that's the enchantments, talents, and items that have received changes, but I think it's overall it's okay. That's something that we can deal with. Next important thing is, as I said, the battlefield experience optimization, how they call it. It's basically that they smoothened out all the indicators and they kind of made the game a little bit smoother in the end. So that's something that I do highlight a lot, or I do enjoy a lot, that they really put themselves into the player's mind and they are trying to make the game a little bit better accessible for newer players, because then the mechanics are a little bit smoother, and I think that is overall something that we should appreciate a lot, because it's going to make the game better overall in the end. That's what we all want to receive. So kind of cool, I like it. And something that I do like a lot is the highlight broadcast feature. It's just some kind of neat thing. It's not something that's going to change your entire life. Like, it's not going to improve your gameplay. It's not going to make your stats better. It's not going to kind of clean up your room or something like that. But now there will be certain things that are going to highlight an action that you've undertaken in the game. For example, as you can see here in the screen, a crucial steal. So if the enemy team is about to take down the Abyssal Dragon or the Slayer, and you can steal it from them, there will be the highlight in the game telling everyone that Airi has just been doing a crucial steal, and she was able to secure that very important objective for her team. It's a neat feature, I like it a lot, and it's going to be just a little bit cooler experience for people out there, because your actions will actually be shown to other players. And I think that's something that is actually pretty cool. I like it a lot, and I think it's a great tool that they have implemented this into the game. Then there have been some system optimizations, about the tutorial and stuff like that. As I said in another video, I'm about to do some sort of new account, like a beginner's account, free to play, and we're trying to grind our game towards, I don't know, platinum or diamond with this. So I can't really tell anything about the tutorial and the 7-day login and road to glory, and it is at the current state of the game, because I've been playing the game for years now, but we're going to take a closer look as soon as I open up that account in 2022, and then we can go into detail and talk about these things, especially if you are a newer player. Other optimizations, blah blah blah, ranked match portals merge, that might be quite important, but now we've come to the very important point, which is the hero rebalancing. I'm going to stop the recording right now and start over again, because I want to save this portion. So ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The problem with this document, as it is quite huge and it is kind of a little bit unorganized. I don't really like how the layout looks like. Everything is a little bit confusing. I decided to do the buffs first, then we're talking about the nerfs, and then we're talking about readjustments, as well as a Nats rework, which is going to be at the end of the video, and then there will be a short review what I think about the patch overall, and this should be at the end of the video, obviously. So I'm going to skip through the heroes quite a lot, because I'm going to look at that hero, look at that hero, look at that hero. To make it easier, as I said, we're talking about the buffs first, and the first buff that we really need to talk about is Xeniel, as Xeniel was highlighted by Arena of Valor, and they stated that this was a buff, and I think we should take a closer look on that at first hand to see if this is really a buff, or is it just something cosmetically, and I think it's the latter, unfortunately. If you guys have seen my tier list, you know that I don't really like Xeniel at all, not because I dislike the champion, but because I like what they've done to him or her or it or whatever it is. It's an angel, I'm not really sure about genders with those guys, but Xeniel basically is a Slayer lane support that you want to play on that position, make him quite tanky, but as they stated, he is squishy, and unfortunately that's the reality of this champion, because Slayer lane support is the best for him. Unfortunately, what I do see is Xeniel a lot on the dual lane support, so supporting an AD carry, which I don't think is the right position for him. because you want to use your ultimate to join team fights immediately and create numbers on that. But unfortunately, if you take Xeniel and just imagine that Xeniel is playing on the solo lane, on the Slayer's lane, against, for example, Chi, Elaine, or any crazy warrior hero like that, I don't really see any chance for him to survive this laning phase at all. And if you are using your ultimate to got into team fights, your opponent will have, of course, the experience and gold advantage on that lane, so they should make him even stronger to compensate for that. Did they do it? I don't think so. Shielding capabilities have been increased a little bit with a little less cooldown reduction and a little decrease in waiting time for the explosion. But is this going to make him, or kind of boost him from the bottom of the tier list to the middle or even the top of the tier list? I don't think so at all. I think this is kind of like shenanigans. It's not really helping him out, and I don't really think that this is going to get Xeniel any more playtime. The hero is bad, his whole skill set is bad, his base stats are bad, and they should really improve Xeniel a lot to make him viable in the game again, because this is just not how it's working. I took down some notes so we can talk about these things in general, and the hero that I have with a buff in the next section is Tachi, and this is kind of nice because then we can just mark another position in that list. So first is Annette. Of course, we're not talking about her at the beginning of this video. Tachi has received a slight increase with skill 1 and ultimate, so ultimate cooldown is getting a little bit better. Additional damage dealt to minion troops is increasing by at least 20%, so I think that's good because wave play is always something that you want to have. What I can't really grasp is how the passive is going to develop. Like, is this kind of better or is it kind of worse? Because of course HP regeneration on him 1% for every additional 100 AD. That means that he needs to buy at least Rank Breaker and Fenris Tooth in order to compensate for that. I guess that's okay. I guess you can do this, but I'm not really entirely sure about how this is going to affect him in the game. But the Tachi players might be able to tell me. I think, in my opinion, from what I got from this, I think it's a buff, but maybe I'm wrong depending on this kind of thing here. I'm just not sure about that. Next buff that I want to talk about is Valhein. It's just a slight buff in my opinion, but they have just increased his range by a small portion, so that's just 0.25 meters, but they done it consequently on his range and his skill 1 and skill 2. And they have buffed the part of the red dart damage that cannot critically hit, and I think that's more important because you want to have that anyways. Crits are fine if you hit them, but this is consistent damage and that's more important than the critical hit, so I would say that's a minor buff. Not a huge one, but that's rather a buff than the stuff that we're going to talk in the readjustment section. Skud has received an increase, to talk about him, of 5% additional HP. That's a buff. I mean, there's nothing negative in that, so that's clearly a buff. And that is the buff section as far as it goes. In my opinion, the other stuff is nerfs and reworks. And if we're talking about nerfs, the first hero that comes to mind is Emily. As you can see, what they did, they increased the scaling, but by very, 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 very little points, but they made the whole base stuff worse. So for example, if we take skill 1, as I said, healing 10% of max HP has now become 6% plus 1 HP plus 1% for every additional 100 AD. That means that you have to build at least 400 AD to have the same effect of healing as you've done before the patch, which is 3 damage items. In a warrior build, where you will have at least boots, you will have at least 1 item for armor resistant stuff, such as Mail of Pain, maybe Shield of the Lost, something like that. Even Aegis is viable on her. And then you will have, of course, an item that's going to change her magic resistance or improve her magic resistance, such as Gaia Standard or Medallion of Troy. So that means if you want to use Blade of Eternity, this is not the same anymore. If you are building Fenris 2, for example, and if you are building Rankbreaker or Spear of Longinus, you can't reach this portion. And this portion here, only the base stuff, 150 plus 30 and 120 plus 18. The difference between that is 210 points. So this is 200. You now need 210 more points to achieve the same damage on your first skill if you are just looking at the base stuff. And I don't think that this scaling improvement is going to change that for the better. And I think that happened with her in total. So this is going to be worse than before. Airi, same routine. The damage has increased, but the scaling has been a little bit nullified, and the max damage receiving from single attacks is now 10% of own max HP. So I think that is a minor nerf, not a crazy one. That's a minor one, but it's a nerf in my opinion. The next nerf, which is quite obvious, is that's not a nerf. That's for me, that is, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a readjustment. A clear nerf for me is Elsu, because you can just tell it by the numbers. They decreased it. So less initial damage, the scaling has become worse, so I would say this is a nerf. And the next nerf, and I think that is something that a lot of players do welcome in the game, is that Aya has been nerfed. So scaling is worse on the first skill. Shielding has become worse initially, and the scaling has been adapted. Now marksmen and mages do get this kind of shield is increased by 50%. I mean, that's huge. But I don't know how it was before. Was it warrior before? Because warrior or tank, that would be blah, 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 blah. Cooldown is worse right now. Each tier damage has been touched, by then the scaling has become a little bit worse, and the speed effect has become a little bit better. I don't see it. Like, that should clearly be a nerf, but then sometimes they do have details here and sometimes they don't. So ultimate has become a little bit better, but the rest of it has become a little bit worse. So I guess that's a nerf. Zata, that's a readjustment for me. That's not a nerf at all. Xeniel, we have talked about him. Baldum has been readjusted. Lumburr has been readjusted. Thane has been readjusted. Wonder Woman has been adjusted. Superman as well. Like Astrid, that's a nerf for me, because now pairing the skill, okay, that's a readjustment, I'd say. Airi has increased. I don't really get it. Krizzix, readjustment, or that's, you could say Krizzix has received a small buff, but then that's a readjustment. Batman has been buffed. I mean, I don't know. Yes, Batman should be in the buffing section, I guess. Zill has been nerfed. Mark of the Wind duration is worse. Your additional damage is gone. Your normal attack range has decreased. Your phase 1 damage is now better. I don't see it. So I guess another nerf, what they have done is Dirak. At least that's something that they stated. So we've got buff Xeniel, we've got nerf Dirak. Dirak increased the ban period in the second phase by 1.5 seconds, but the cooldown has been decreasing, and the ultimate removed the precast immunity to control. That's not a game changer, but that's actually something. So I guess that's a good thing. And I guess now it's time to talk about a lot of adjustments. And I know this can be quite exhausting. It's quite exhausting for me to talk about that as well, but I think let's make it really, really quick. So we need to talk about a certain amount of heroes. Adjustments. We've talked about Skud. Lorion adjustment, it's basically only one thing, your passive. Now when you're shocking multiple heroes or minions, your recovery is a little bit worse. The problem is Lorion is a super strong hero right now, or has been always since he was introduced in the game. Your recovery is worse, but your damage still stays the same. So the overall impact that you're going to have on the game, at least in a specific certain amount of time, will be the same. But of course, your survivability will be a little bit less because it's now just 50% and not 100 anymore. Is this going to have a huge impact on him? Don't think so, but it's something where they try minor changes to see if they're going into the right direction. We talked about Aya. Zata, they said they're going to nerf him a little bit down, so the range is decreasing by 1 meter, and you are no longer exposing the vision of surrounding enemies. Zata's charging speed is too fast. Well, they're not talking about that here in the description of the changes, so there might be something that they have changed, but they're not telling us about it. So I'm not entirely sure, but this is a minor change, and I don't think that this is going to be a crazy effect on Zata at all. Gildur's damage, they said they had to adjust his firepower. So the firepower at the beginning will be a little bit better, and then it's going to be a little bit worse overall in the game. Readjustment. I don't know. I don't really see Gildur to be a super strong hero. I mean, he has decent moments, but was that really necessary? Was anyone really screaming for, you need to change Gildur's damage at the end of the game? I don't really think so. Baldum has changed, though they have changed the skill number 2. Physical damage is now magic damage, but you still scale with AD and armor. I don't know about that. Like, okay, physical damage is now magic damage. That's nice. And your damage reduction is a little bit worse. So from 25 to 50% is now 20 to 40%. I think that's an adjustment. I think Baldum is actually a really strong character. People are telling me that's not the case if you climb to Veteran and above, but in my games, when I play in Platinum or Diamond, Baldum is really, really strong, so let's see what that does to him. I think that's a readjustment. As well as Lumburr, your radius of the passive will be a little bit larger. Okay, well, fair enough. The scaling will be a little bit better in the terms of the armor, but a little bit worse in terms of the magic defense, so they're really buffing mages since a lot of patches lately, and your skill is going to deal a little bit more damage coming from the base stats. Okay, that's good. I don't really see Lumburr to be a super strong champion. Thane now does a little bit more damage and his scaling becomes a little bit better. I think that's good. And your damage typing is now AP instead of AD. I don't really know what this is all about. Like, what is the reason behind this? I can't tell. I don't know. Okay, well, we're going to see if that's going to be a game changer. I doubt it. But that the skill number 1 is going to be a little bit more effective is something that I do welcome a lot. Wonder Woman has gone through some changes, so her damage reduction has become a little bit worse at the beginning, but her scaling is now better. And they changed the damage calculation, how it works on the first skill. So now it's target for additional physical damage, whatever that's going to tell us, and she's now scaling with AD. I like to build Wonder Woman quite heavily on armor, so I think this is not going to be something that I really welcome in the game. I don't really like this change, but maybe it's important. We don't know anything about the details because they're not going to tell us about that. So Superman has been touched by a little bit, HP is a little bit worse, cooldown is a little bit increasing, but I don't really think that this is going to change crazy amounts of this because Superman is a great tank and he's going to be a great tank because people are wearing full tank gear. That's my gear, not gear. That's my build. I don't know if everyone else plays him. You might just throw in some Fenris too, but that's about that. Astrid is a she can use her skill during the ultimate. I mean, that that was okay. Yields high rewards with the ultimate. With skill 2 makes it very difficult to play against. In my games, most Astrids are not even able to just hit one enemy with this skill, but if you tell me that people who are mechanically wise really good and play in higher tiers, that might be quite important. In my games, this is just not applying to the game at all. But okay, if you want to remove her second skill during the ultimate, just do it. AoE, in my perspective, has become a lot better. I didn't put her down in the buffing section, but I think that should be something where we put her down. And I pre-recorded the video once before, and then the recording kind of sucked because it did not record at all. So of course the recording sucks. So I mixed it up a little bit, but that should definitely be a buff. Okay, I'm going to put that in the buffing section. Well, everything has become a little bit better. So base damage is higher, scaling is better. Charge time has decreased a little bit. Okay, that's fine. It's not huge, but it's, of course, you will kind of get it. Base damage in the ultimate has increased. The second hit damage has increased, and they changed how her shielding and the impact damage works. But this is huge, and the description or the rationale is actually quite confusing because they say Arya is still one of the best heroes in higher rank matches, so we're making some adjustments to bring her in line with other heroes. What does that mean? This is going to make her better, so she's even better than one of the best heroes in higher rank matches, so I don't really see that point. I don't really get it. Maybe that's just me, but I think this is going to improve her even more than making her even better than she is at the moment in the game. So I don't know about that. Kind of a bummer. Okay, so let's continue with Krizzix. Krizzix has been changed a little bit. I think that's a readjustment, not really a crazy buff, but you can tell that okay, that might be a minor buff, but he's not often picked by players. I really enjoy Krizzix a lot. I think it's a great champion, so get Krizzix on the board, ladies and gentlemen. I think he's really cool. Arta, oh my god, who is going to read a lot of text like this? No one is. Okay, so his regeneration has become a little bit worse, but overall they increased his stats. So regen, okay, worse, but his growth, HP, armor, and ultimate damage is becoming a little bit better. I kind of enjoy that. Should that be in the readjustment section eventually, but I think it could even be a buff in my perspective, as well as Batman. Batman has increased overall, so he's doing more damage, and that's really important because I mean, they say it here. At this stage, Batman is too weak in the jungle. Yes, the Hermione will need to deal a lot of damage in a short time, which makes him need a lot of gold quickly to be effective. Yes, so this is really good. Thank you for doing so. Florentino removed the energy system, removed speed up of vertically engaged, stun duration has increased, cooldown has increased as well, reduced the slowdown percentage from 50 to 90, removed knock away stun, okay, that's great. Reduced the cooldown of the skill, so okay, cooldown is a little bit whereas change his role from attacking single hero to attacking groups of enemies with area damage. I'm really curious how this is going to turn out in the end, because Florentino is crazy. To avoid being controlled, it's kind of like if he's activating his dart at first and then he's going in with the ultimate, you're basically just stun, 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 stun. So this is kind of a game changer. Don't know how it turned out. Like from what I read here, that's huge. But we're going to see if that's really the case, or if Florentino players have always found a way to make their champion work, and I think they will. So change his role from attacking single heroes to attacking groups of enemies with area damage. That sounds great. I always had a problem with him to jump from different targets, so this might be some point where I am going to play that champion again, but we're going to see. Then we've got Zill. Oh my god, that text, what is this? Those brackets in between, who is going to read that? So, what happened with Zill? They removed the additional damage to jungle monsters. Oops, that's a bummer. Normal attacks now deal additional damage, and marks of the wind duration is decreased. So that's not that great. Then they have been changing the range of his normal attacks from 4 to 3 meters, which means he needs to get a little bit closer. But then they increased the damage of his attacks overall while decreasing the slowdown percentage by about 30 up to 40%, making it a little bit longer. The movement flicker now has a post-cast stun. Okay, and the cooldown has decreased a little bit. Gains a shield that can absorb damage after hitting a hero. Hitting enemy no longer adds passive marks of the wind. Okay, that's sad, but this is good. So I think that's kind of like rebalancing him on the one hand. So they're making his jungle a little bit better. While the mark of the wind is, so you need more. I guess what it does. So you get a little bit more damage overall. Bullet speed has increased, so your damage is a little bit better, but then you need to apply more damage in a shorter amount of time to get your marks, and this is like the bread and butter. Your passive is the most important thing about Zill, and not hitting enemies in your ult creating more passive marks of the wind. I think that is something that is actually quite useful, or might just put him back into another position, because I think this champion is really, really powerful. Might even be a little bit too powerful. Volkath has been readjusted with base damage. I mean, the readjustment, what they've done, coming from that, putting it in buffs, nerfs, and readjustment section, is based on the Instagram post and not on my list, and it's all a little bit mixed up at the 29th of December, but you guys are going to see for yourself. Volkath. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do timestamps on the hero. I'm not going to, this is just completely confusing for you guys out there, so yeah, I'm going to put that in the video description so you guys know about that. Volkath has gradually become the nightmare of marksman heroes, so it should be obvious that they are going to do rebalancing him to make him easier to fight. Okay, so what happened? His base damage has increased. Added, hit slow down targets by 90% and the effect of this diminishing quickly within 1 second. Okay. The damage increase effect of skilled mark targets, I think that's good, because you wanted to jump to targets anyways. So if you mark someone, you're standing next to them, I think the whole meaning of the second skill is kind of like gone. So okay, that's good for me. Mark duration is a little bit shorter. Okay, that's fine. But then his damage has increased a little bit. 1% for every additional 50 AD. That's not really that much. As I said, Fenrir's as well as Rank Breaker are going to put you on 300, meaning that 300, that's 6% more. You can even get more from this as you had in the previous version of the game. And then they changed something about his ultimate, so it's going to get more damage. Second hit damage is going to increase. Encountable effect during the second phase. Second knock up duration is a little bit shorter. Okay, so oh, that is crazy. The 25% HP regeneration after the status ends. That was always huge when you got life back, but they are increasing his damage overall by a really crazy amount. Like I guess that's significant. So I don't really see the nightmare of marksman heroes. Yeah, you could just jump in and kill them. Okay, but as they say, they are kind of decreasing the ult, but making his overall gameplay with the improvement of the skill 1 and skill 2 a little bit better. So the main focus is on making the ult a little bit worse by removing attack and movement speed and the regeneration, and then you are going to have a little bit more impactful skill 1 and skill 2. Okay, I do understand this, but we're going to see how this turns out. I guess in laning phase against another warrior, this can be just crucial. Okay, now armor and magic defense is a little bit better. Okay, I see that's good. Good. Enhanced. Okay, a little bit worse. Okay, so they've just tweaked around a little bit. Decrease own movement speed by just 50% instead of 75 on the skill second. That's something good. On land, and it does not lower your movement speed at all. Like that's huge. That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. But in the brush, they have changed that. Okay, well I guess I was trying to escape on land and not in brushes anyway, so I guess this is okay. But we're going to see, like, okay, they've done some changes here, they've done some triggering there, they've done some tweaking around here, but all in all, we're going to see if this is really going to change crazy amounts of that. For 60 additional AD, that's totally fine. 50% plus Rank Breaker and Fenris are going to put you on 10%, so that's even better. I don't really, that's an improvement here. Then we've got Dirak, we've got Tara. Current EP lost when using skills and the ultimate. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, this is kind of like whoever plays Tara, I don't know. It's your own fault if you play her. So that was the hero section. So we talked about changes throughout the monsters. We talked about changes throughout the equipment, the talents, and the enchantments. We talked about like hygienic things such as new entertainment features and something like that. We talked about all the heroes that have been touched, and if you want to go into detail and reread it on your own, feel free to click the link in the video description below. And now it's time for the big review. The big, like, what's the verdict of this patch? And I'm going to take another record for this, and I'm going to put everything, stitching everything together. So prepare for the verdict. And my verdict is, come from my perspective, and I've done the tier lists lately, so I had to kind of get my head around every single hero in the game as they are currently positioned throughout the games. I've got mixed feelings about the patch. Like, I think that they have touched a couple of heroes who are really strong, and they changed it, but what they stated, what this patch is all about, I don't really get it. Like, I don't really get why improving AoE, nerfing Dirak, and buffing Xeniel with not a real buff is basically that's the core of this patch. What about the Elaines out there? What about for example Sinestrias? What about Tulans? What about Zips? Like all these crazy super SSS champions out there who completely dominate the games in the upper leagues. what about those? Why not rework them in kind of a way to make everything a little bit more even? I mean, yes, improving Batman was a really good choice here, but I don't really see that there's some stuff in this patch I don't really think it was necessary, at least in my perspective of the game, as I did not really see these champions to be super crazy. Why not buffing someone like Toro? Where's Toro? Kraden will ask the same question. Where's Toro in this? I don't really see it. So, while I really welcome the changes in terms of the Darkslayers, I don't really get the changes in terms of other things. I really like the mechanics. It's still, I've got questions after watching this patch and after talking about it in detail. And I think the last thing that we now should do is to talk about the rework of a net, which I put at the very end of the video because I just forgot it. I've done the review before I done the rework of a net. So this is going to be a separate and the last part of the video. Oh my goodness, what a nightmare. And here we go. So let's talk about the rework of Annette. At first we got this short description. Annette is not very popular because she is kind of weak. She has been a jack of all trades, I don't think so, which doesn't always give her a clear purpose or reason to be picked over other supports. To help with this, we've decided to change all her skills, giving her more defined identity. Ha! Let's see if that really happens. So the new and improved Annette will have more emphasis placed on dealing damage, surviving and protecting the DPS. We also remove skills to stun and the ultimate terrain obstacles, so she's not too strong of a force early game. So they said, okay, she's kind of weak. No one's really picking her because she's got powers that other supports have too. But then we are removing her stun, and then we are removing her terrain obstacle because she's too strong in the early game. Okay, well, we're just going to take it like that because we can't discuss about that. So her basic attributes have been changed. Her armor is a little bit better. Her normal attack range is a little bit worse. Okay, I see that she's not doing damage at all, so why change her range? I don't get it. Okay. Annette gains the Blessings of the Wind, increasing her movement speed by 10% when there are teammates around her, increasing her mana, regen, and skill cooldown speed when she's moving. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Annette summons a tornado at the target location that lasts for 2 seconds. It deals magic damage to enemies and reduces their movement speed by 20%. Range plus 0 point, precast time increased from this to this. So the precast time, don't get if I don't get it wrong, is the time that you need to cast it. So they have made that a little bit worse, but the range has increased a little bit. Okay. Annette fires a wind orb in a target direction, gives herself a shield, moves back a short distance, and gains 30% movement speed for 2 seconds. Okay, it deals damage, it grants a shield, the range is increased by 2, fix an issue that caused the indicator to not match the destination. Okay, well that's an issue. Cooldown speed. Well, is that different than before? Is that different than before? Like I don't really have this kind of comparison, but it sounds like the old Annette. Basically, the numbers are different, but she does completely the same. Annette decided to change all her skills, giving her more defined identity. Well, where is the changing in this? She summons a tornado. She did that before. She fires a wind orb. She did that before. Okay. Annette immediately knocks back, unaffected by resistance, the enemy around her, dealing magic damage. She creates a wind circle and becomes invincible and untargetable during this time. Okay, a stunned, immune, skill, determination, added a red specific effect warning for enemies. That's definitely the same as it was before, so it's now not a terrain anymore, but you get stunned for 1 second if you are going to get in contact with it. What's the difference? Like, it's still stunning people. Okay, you can't move. You can move inside it, or you can't. I don't really get it. I'm lost. Like, why was that important? Who asked about this? Like, who was begging for this eagerly? We really need a rework for Annette. No one cared about her before, and I think less people are going to care about her now. From what I heard in the Discord channel is that she's now becoming more of a mid lane instead of a support. So great rebalancing on that. Like, you completely changed her role while at least what I read from the description, her skills remain the same, at least in terms of how you are going to apply them to the battlefield. So I don't get it. Like, this is a bummer to me. I don't know how you guys feel about it. And that should be basically the end of today's video. Yes, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it brought new insights to you and you now have a better feeling on what this patch does and what this patch doesn't. If you've got questions about it, feel free to put them in the comment section below and tell me if I should do something like that in the future again, because it's going to help me with the AoV program. Well, fingers crossed, and as this video is going to be seen on the 30th of December, and we're not going to talk to each other on the 31st, and the next video will be on the 1st of January in 2022. What I really want to bring down the road is thank you guys for staying with me throughout the year 2021. Thank you for all your support, your lovely comments, and we've seen a huge increase in terms of subscribers in the channel as well as the view time, so that really means a lot to me. This channel is basically becoming like, I had a lot of time before I was moving to Münster. I got a new job. People who are following my channel know that I'm a dad right now, so I've got less time to invest into this channel, and therefore it's really grateful from you guys that the channel still grows and there are a lot of new subscribers to the channel, so that really is a great feeling, especially for me as a content creator who has less time, but of course I still want to entertain you guys out there, and I hope that this is kind of happening in kind of a way. And the only thing that I wish right now, and I want to tell you, is get safely into 2022. I wish you a lot of health, a lot of money, make all your wishes come true during the next year, and I hope that we can just stop this pandemic pretty soonish, so that we can get back to our normal ordinary lives, enjoy Arena of Valor, but also go to the bars, go to the cinemas, go to the movies, do some sports with our friends and our family and people we really like. And let's hope for a great 2022. And I would like to welcome you back on this channel in the next year. That would be great. So enjoy your time, have a pleasant evening, and bye bye.